In this video, we want to turn our attention to innovation and commercialization. Clearly, when we have an invention, it is just an invention. It's not necessarily of any commercial use. It's something we've invented. Innovation is normally associated with something commercial, something which is a newness to a product, a variation of a product, which brings it more up to date, more in line with the requirements of the customers, or perhaps some saving in terms of manufacturing, some new way of manufacturing, or indeed it could be related to the services, the way a product is marketed. That might be an innovation or a change. But we're concerned with how to link commercialization, the whole process of monetizing an activity, with innovation, and that's what the purpose of this video is. So first of all, what is commercialization? Well, Wikipedia suggests the following definition of commercialization. Here it states that it's introducing new products and production methods into commerce by making it available on the market. So it's introducing new products and production methods into commerce by making it available on the market. Well, you can see from the start of that definition, introducing new products and production methods, that is innovation. That's a perspective of innovation. We've talked on other videos about innovation being newness, being a variation, being a development of an idea. A development of an idea which may be tangible, it may change a product, or it may change a production process, or it may be intangible, it may be a way of working, or a change in the philosophy or the routines of a particular department or a particular activity. So there's a linkage immediately in our definition here between innovation and commercialization. Commercialization is the process of taking an innovation to market and to identify the most successful approach to commerce. So it's one thing to vary a product or vary a production process to improve it, to come up with a better way of doing something, or to look at a product and add extra functionality to the product or extra dimensions to the product. That's improving the product, but then it must be taken to market. And here we can immediately envisage the activities of marketing and strategy and looking at a lot of business processes. It's no longer the province of the engineer or the province of the innovator. It doesn't have to be an engineer, but whoever the innovator was, it doesn't have to be that person who takes it to the next step. It may be another person in the team being defined as the company in this case, or the organization, and that team will then take it to market, to commercialize the innovation. All innovations and inventions begin life, that's not being life, begin life in research and development, where basic ideas are explored and a series of prototypes of tests are tested and evaluated. When we think of innovations, we think of an idea first. The idea related to a particular product, to some variation, to some newness, some new aspect to the product that may be developed, which will generate more sales and will generate more profits and will be welcomed by the company, but also be welcomed by the customers because they're getting a better product. So it all starts with an idea. The idea then must go to some sort of development process, looking at how the product is developed and what is the best way of implementing the new idea. And to do this, there may be prototyping. They may make samples of the new product and test the samples to see if it's going to work in the market, and generally run through the whole development process, because the innovation has to be developed, tested, run within the organization before it's released onto the market. It would be a public relations disaster to release a product onto the market which hadn't been so tested. If the product fails on the market, the reputation of the business could be severely adversely affected. So it's important to do this in advance. The development of products require time, investment and resources, and capital expenditure in order to bring the products to market. So getting a good idea is great, it's welcomed. But commercializing it may involve investment, effort, time, resources. It may require further development. So the process of getting it ready for the market, away from the initial idea, the development of the initial idea, that process of getting it ready may be expensive. So the first port of call when a new idea is proposed is to evaluate the idea and to see if it is worth committing more resources into its development, into prototyping perhaps, or just developing it to see if it is worth going to full-scale production later. The product launch is the stage where marketing, advertising and promotion efforts encourage the commercial adoption of the new product. So if it goes through the stages internally, the early stages from the idea up to prototyping, if it's past all of those, and the management and the marketing personnel and all of those with a particular interest in the product, if they feel it's worth carrying it on, then at that stage some sort of product launch date could be agreed, and some sort of advertising or promotion campaign could be developed around the product, and all the efforts will then switch to pushing this new idea onto the market. So the idea starts with an idea, plan, and then deliver. Commercialization involves the following. Detailed classes on these topics are available in the module, by the way, but you'll also find the classes throughout Galton College. There are umpteen classes on all of these from different perspectives, so it's worth searching around the different modules and the online libraries of the college. But in the meantime, commercialization involves the following: the commercial funnel, the process of filtering ideas to find the most suitable product concept. So let's say someone within the organization has a good idea for some sort of innovation or development of a product, or some sort of labor saving or cost saving activity in production. Now that's the initial one. Then it's necessary to brainstorm the idea, to think about it, get different viewpoints on it, to try and filter the idea so that it becomes better. There may have been ambiguities in the original proposal, or parts of the idea may not have been fully thought out. The idea is still good, it's just it needs clarity. And to get the clarity, perhaps more people involved, more discussions, more thinking about it. And this is all a filtering of ideas, which we call the commercial funnel. It's funneling the ideas towards the one that stands the best chance of surviving. Then we've got the stage gate model, setting of goals for each stage of the innovation and commercialization process. Again, subject matter of separate videos. But just for the purpose of this one, it's setting up a model where there are stop-go decisions, where the whole expenditure is set out, but instead of investing all of the expenditure in one fair swoop at the start, some sort of decision gate is determined, that further down the line they will review whether it's still worth carrying on with the idea. So it will be developed to this point, and then after this point a further decision will be made later on. So it does not run from start to finish. It runs from start to some stop point. And that stop point could be an evaluation from the marketing team. It could be an evaluation from the technical team if it's a technical product. It could be based on focus groups, consumer focus groups, who come and give their opinions about it. All sorts of stops can be introduced. So instead of committing a large sum of money to the development of an idea at the start, going right through from start to finish, what the organization may do is start it and then review it at an early stage, and then set a new objective further down and review it again and so on until it is fully developed. And that's the essence of the stage gate model. But as I said, it's the subject matter of separate videos. The involvement of key players, well, ensuring senior management and customers are involved in the commercialization process. There must be commitment on the part of management to the idea if it's going to be developed and if it's going to be successful. If management are not entirely committed, or they are reticent to continue because they're not sure of the idea, or they feel uncomfortable about it, or there's something inhibiting full engagement, if that is the case, then the project will be in trouble. So it needs full commitment and enthusiasm on the part of management, both senior management, but also all the way through the management of the organization, through even the workers who are engaged in it, right through to the consumer at the end. There should be enthusiasm. If there's no enthusiasm, the chances are the product will not succeed, or it won't be a big success, to say the least. The following factors need to be taken into consideration before product commercialization. First of all, trying to work out the right time to launch. You have to look at the current market conditions and look at what's happening in the market in terms of disposable incomes, employment, uncertainties in the market. Could be political uncertainty or economic uncertainty. Look at what's in the news and what's affecting communities. When is the right time to launch? What are the competitors doing? So trying to get a fix on when is the right time could be a big problem. A problem to get it right. If it's launched at the wrong time, then it will not have an impact. And if it doesn't have the impact, it won't get the publicity, or it won't get the status within the market, and therefore may fail because the customers were not fully informed or not fully briefed or engaged with the whole activity. Where's the best location to launch? What geographical locations ensure best launch success? Sometimes, depending on the product, but large organizations may pick quite an exotic center somewhere else in the world to launch a product and organize a big event. Here we're thinking of the really big corporations, the Apples and Microsofts of this world. But smaller companies may also look, they may not look internationally, but they may look to see where they can launch it. It may be a launch at a prestigious center in the local city, or they may base it in the capital city. They're trying to attract attention. They're trying to attract the press. They're trying to attract perhaps magazines. They want coverage of the event. So where's the best location to launch the product? And who is the target group? The research and test marketing phases determine the most appropriate customer segment. The diffusion of innovation model, will the customer group be innovators, early adopters, or laggards? And again, there's a video on this, or videos on this. The customers, some of the customers may be very enthusiastic about the proposal and want to buy it straight away. Others may buy it within a couple of weeks and they haven't rushed off to buy it. They got it in the end, they bought it in the end. Or some may just hang back and just see how it's going, what the reports on the product are, and they want to read the forums and look at consumer reports about the product and customers' experiences of using it before they make a commitment. Needless to say, a lot of what I'm saying here is contingent on the price of the product. If it's a very cheap product, then the innovators, the early adopters and the laggards, this analysis may not apply. But if it is an expensive product, proportionately expensive, I mean in terms of, let's say, a monthly income, if it represented a significant proportion of income or a considerable sum of money as estimated by the customer, then if it is, then some people will be reluctant to commit, some will hang back. If it's a small sum of money, they just buy it and test it. They're not particularly worried if it doesn't work or if it does work. They would be upset if it didn't work, of course, but they don't stand to lose a lot, so they might take the risk. An approach to launch: action planning, marketing techniques, marketing mix, promotion methods, and budgeting. All of it must be right. All of it must be worked out in advance to make sure that the innovation, this new product or new development or whatever it is that's been taken to market, it's got a good chance of success. So there must be good planning and good marketing techniques. The balance between the price, the quality of the product, the perception of the product, the amount spent on promotion, all of these must be carefully balanced and worked out. It can't be haphazard. It can't just be developed on the day. It must be based on some sort of analysis and some sort of reflection after the analysis to ensure that it's well thought out. What sort of promotion methods and how much of the budget should be dedicated to this. So we have business strategy, we have new product strategy, and put the two together, we have some sort of working brief that's required. This working brief will enable the new product to come into existence, and it'll fit in terms of the business strategy. In other words, the business strategy has been flexed, it has been altered to accommodate new products and new product development. And out of this, there is a working brief to develop the new product. But the working brief must be aimed at some sort of perceived opportunity that requires innovation. Now, we can't plan for entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is essentially something that happens not randomly necessarily, but it just happens to certain people who are innovative. They like the idea of risk. They like the idea of testing new products and developing ideas. These are the entrepreneurs. People who are alert to profit opportunities. They can see something that the rest of us can't see. So this working brief will involve the more entrepreneurial parts of the workforce who will make contributions, make suggestions. And they'll produce a product specification. So this new product idea, which is in itself the product of somebody's imagination, the entrepreneur, or the intrapreneur, as it's called sometimes in the literature. Intrapreneur means someone working within a business already. So they're just interested in developing the products of the business. So there's a new product strategy, then they look at the opportunities that that product may bring to the organization, and if they consider it's worth carrying on, they will produce a specification. That's the work of Naylor in 1990. So, out of this product specification, we have the invention of possible solutions. So it generates possibilities. There's a product specification. The management may now consider the particular product specification and look at what is possible, what variations, what cost savings, what revenues are involved, what technology, what are the HR implications, what new staff will be required. So they have to take a look at just about every aspect that's involved in bringing this product to market. So they have to ensure that the whole project is feasible. It can be done. But then they also need to work out what are the budget implications of bringing it to market, developing it and bringing it to market. So they have to compare different scenarios. They have to think, if it's developed with a certain functionality, it'll be one price. If it's developed with a different functionality, it'll be a different price. But which one will stand the best chance of commercial success? So out of all of those comparisons, the management will have to select one or more ideas with potential. So the management will select different possibilities, thereby, of course, casting the other ones out, rejecting other possibilities. So now the management have become more focused on one set of ideas. One set of ideas related to one development, perhaps, a particular type of innovation, a particular type of change to a product, or a totally new product, but linked through technology and through the skills of the workforce and through the history of the organization to what the organization is currently doing. It may be a new product, but linked. It's in the same area. There's some expertise in dealing with it. Then we move to the test stage. You have to conduct tests on the idea. This may involve prototyping, as I said earlier, making a model of the product if it's a physical product. If it's a service, then it may involve focus groups and some sort of analysis amongst consumers or the recipients of the product when it goes onto the market. So it may involve some sort of feedback, some sort of analysis on the part of customers of how they would respond to this change. If it's a physical product, then it would have to be tested. Does it work? and also see if it can be produced. And if it can be produced, given the skills and given the technology of the business, can it be produced cheaply and efficiently? Then develop a marketing plan and produce prototypes. The marketing plan, how will the product be delivered to the market? How will the product be sold? What are the outlets? What sort of information must go with the product? What brochures or leaflets? What advertising? But also make prototypes and make sure that the product can be delivered. This is the one that can be made, and the organization has the capability of producing this product and producing it at a price, or a cost, I should say, that enables it to generate a profit. In other words, that the selling price will cover all costs. It will cover all the explicit and the implicit costs of production. By the way, by implicit costs, I mean what's known as the opportunity costs. The resources of the business could be used to produce something else. Well, the fact that it's producing this new innovative idea means it's not producing something else. So that's a cost to the business. It's what's not being produced. So look at the costs in terms of raw materials, labor, machinery, and look at what could have been done had this product not been developed. Well, it should be taken into account as well. And produce prototypes. Produce samples to see if it works and if it delivers what is promised. If it's okay or it's not okay at the end of the testing, then the decisions must be to, if it's okay, to launch the product and enter full-scale production. That's if it's okay, if everything goes according to plan. If it's not okay, perhaps it's necessary to go back to the product specification and review it again to see if any changes can be made to the product specification that will overcome any issues. It may require some small change to enable it to be successful. It may need a big change, in which case the management will have to decide if it's worthwhile making a big change. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's better to kill off the project at that stage. But if it's a small change and if it's manageable, going back to the product specification and going through the whole process again might be a way forward, might be a way of dealing with it. And if everything is okay on the second run, then it goes forward to product launch and full-scale production. And that is a view of getting an idea through an organization from an idea stage, an innovations proposal, to final launch onto the market. The innovation process, illustrated by Naylor, identifies the following key points within the process. The working brief. The innovation process is triggered through a need or an opportunity. So innovation, it can be seen as an opportunity. Some entrepreneurially minded person within the organization may look at a product and think, if the product had the following, it would be much better and much better received in the marketplace. So this functionality, whatever it is, adding something to it would greatly enhance the product, which would generate more sales. But it's observing this that is the problem, and it's having the ability to spot these innovation possibilities. But innovation is triggered through a need. Sometimes a product is failing in the marketplace and it requires attention in order to bring it back into commercial success. It may need a relaunch, it may need a makeover, a redesign. It may need extra functionality just to enable it to survive in the market. After all, the marketplace is not static, it is dynamic. Other producers are also making products in competition. So a working brief can be triggered through a need or an opportunity. Possible solution. A range of alternative solutions are brought forward for wider analysis and comparison. It's wise to have a range, not simply to have one. One does not give the management much to work with. So bringing forward a range of alternatives or solutions, this is a good idea because management can then cherry pick which ones are the best, which ones will succeed, which ones are not so likely to succeed. So they're able to pick out the best one. And they're able to do comparisons between one proposal and the next. The selection, well, the most suitable or viable products are selected for development and testing. That goes without saying. Obviously, they will pick the best one. But they must identify which one is the best. It must be clear to them which one is best. And that clarity and that understanding must be based on as much evidence as possible through an analysis of the alternatives, going back to possible number 2, or going back to the whole idea of the innovation in the first place and why it was triggered through need or opportunity. And then selecting the best one and moving with that through the development process and bringing it onto the market. The testing stage, well, a marketing plan is developed and prototypes are used for research and development. So testing is when prototypes, in other words, products which are identical to the one which will be developed commercially later, the ones which are identical can be tested. It can be tested to destruction to see how far they will go before they break down. They can be tested under different conditions, heat, coldness, water conditions, moisture, whatever it is. They can be tested in a whole range of areas. And all of this prototyping generates data. But once the data is used, it becomes information which can go on to marketing information to say the product has been tested under these conditions. It's much better if the organization gets an outside agency to validate their claims. For example, British standards. So if it gets the kite mark, or if it gets a British standard recognition, then that means the product is robust. It can be relied upon and customers can have confidence in the product. The market, well, successful products are launched into the market. At least that's the whole objective, is to make sure that the products have been developed, that they are robust, they've been tested, they're carefully selected, an opportunity has been seen, a gap in the market has been perceived, that it's aimed at. So everything is pointing in the right direction. And if that's the case, then take the product to market. But of course, it's necessary to make sure that the timing of the launch on the market and the place where it's launched, as I said earlier in this video, those have to be carefully selected as well. But if everything else runs according to plan, we get to number 5 and it goes to market. The innovation process illustrated by Naylor identifies the following key points and processes. The feedback loop. The process identifies a loop in the model. The idea here is that at any stage, anything adverse about the product can be fed back in the development stage, can be fed back and put right, can be rectified. It's necessary to identify it. It's necessary to ensure that the mechanism is there for identification, and that the identification of anything adverse, the identification of that is encouraged. In other words, the product is simply not allowed to go through development without critical appraisal. And this critical appraisal is not just on the part of management, it could be on the part of operators. It could be on the part of marketing and focus groups. But whatever the feedback is, that will condition the type of development that will take place further down the line. In other words, those suggestions, those criticisms, those comments will be built in and addressed if the product is going to continue during the development stage. During research and testing phase, the use of prototypes. If the outcome implies an unsuccessful product, then the marketing team must re-evaluate other alternatives. If after prototyping, after making a sample and testing it, then serious flaws are discovered, the management must be prepared to write off all of the efforts and the investment made to that point. They must be prepared to walk away and kill off that idea. If it can be put right and it's viable, it's not going to add significantly to the price on the market, or is not going to damage the business because of a blind commitment to the product. If that's the case, then it may be worth going ahead. But whatever happens, the management must be very straight and quite logical as to commercially logic, I should say. In other words, they must look very critically at the likely returns against the likely costs, based on as much evidence as they can get. The loop allows the marketing team to move through different stages of the model. So a feedback loop doesn't have to be from start to end. It could be at intermediate points, similar to the stage gate model we talked about earlier, where management set up points along the development stage to say it will be appraised at this point, and it'll only go forward if it passes, and if it does go forward, it'll be appraised at another point, and again it could fail there, in which case it goes back to the previous one where it succeeded, and remedial measures may be instituted to get it to the next evaluation stage, and then on to the next one until it's finally completed. So the point here is the model suggests that there are feedback loops all the way through the system. The feedback loops, information about the product, about its performance, about the upsides and the downsides associated with the product, coming from operators, from management, junior management, senior management, from the marketing department, from customers, from whoever's involved. And this feedback has to be acted upon to further refine the product, to give it a good quality perception within the marketplace. For example, if a prototype of an upgraded iPhone proves to be an unsuccessful model amongst the target group, the marketing team can revert back to the possible alternative stages to reassess other possibilities. And this happens a lot, even with phones or with computers, with cars. It happens quite a lot. The initial launch has got certain functionality, but customers may not like all they get. They may not like the particular functionality. They find it difficult, or they find it intrusive. They just don't like it. They would much prefer something else. Now, that's a failure of picking up information during the development stage. So what we find is many products are put on the market, and then there's an upgraded product that comes out very quickly afterwards. Version 2. And version 2 will have taken all of those comments into consideration and have put them right to try and improve the product and improve the image. Of course, the people who bought it, the original one, will in a sense be stuck with it. They have to work with what they bought. They may not be happy at all. Their experience is not what they anticipated. But purchasers further along will benefit from the feedback that the initial purchasers made, and a better product will be produced later, a revised product. Those are the sources that we mentioned throughout this particular video. But that's all we want to do on this one. It's quite a long video. It's best to have a look at it a few times, but don't do it all in one go. Stop and start. We are using videos after all, and you have the facility to press the pause button, have a break, make some notes, and it's an important topic in the context of innovation. But let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.